WTFR, news you can use to cure your blues. Double track that. WTFR, news you can use to cure your blues. Thanks for writing Early Access News.
You want to double track that one?
Sure. Thanks for writing Early Access News.
We'll double track the entire episode. Just say whatever you're going to say twice.
Yes, let's do that. Oh, did you hear? Kumba might be closing. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, no, wait. It's not. The park is actually pissed that I said that.
That was like a bummer for a minute, though.
Oh, no, that was horrible.
Yeah.
That was terrible news. And it was believable just out of the fact that that ride has been nothing but a walk-on. Not that I don't spend a lot of time in that park, but every time I go, it is. And it is the first of its kind, and it's very old, and it is very extreme. And then after what happened with Hulk, for some reason they felt they had to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it. Like maybe there was a crack somewhere in there on Hulk, so who knows what was going on with Kumba these days. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of believable that maybe it would happen, but obviously I don't want it to happen, and I'm glad it's not.
It's like that combined with Bush's history of taking out the wolf and Drachenfire. It's like, yeah, that story was very believable. Yeah.
That's true. And then you got that. The fact that they don't care sometimes. They seem to be really quick to get rid of things. Curse of Dark Castle.
Oh, right. There's another one for you.
Just disappeared one day. But yeah, it's not happening, so that's good.
Well, what apparently is done, though, is...
Ooh, what's done?
Battle for Erie?
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know. It was only open for like, I think a couple of months or something. And then that was it.
Is that a new record? Is that like the shortest lived simulator in history? I think it must be.
It might be. You know, we didn't get to do it, whatever. I'm not really upset.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, and the thing is, though, it had like a regular option, from what I understand. Like you could wear the shit on your face.
Oh, we should explain that, yeah.
Or you could have just... They also played it on the screen that was there from the former ride, the Corkscrew Hill. Yeah, it was a simulator, but I guess the gimmick was you had the option of doing VR.
So it's like that combined with the movement of the seat, I guess, was supposed to be a really immersive experience. It would have been interesting to check out because, I mean, has anyone else really done that? I know there were those like... What was it, like ham and rye upcharge simulator things that Six Flags put in?
Yeah. That just name makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid. But
that was like the same thing, essentially. Actually, I don't know if the seats moved. Maybe they just like vibrated. So that spot remains cursed. I don't know. Whatever they put in there, just it can't seem to stick.
Curse of Dark Castle. It's the Curse of King Arthur's Challenge. I think that was maybe the worst simulator ever made in a major park setting.
That's really up there.
I don't know, bring back Questor? I mean, if you think about it, now more than ever, there's kind of a precedent for that. Like, that's happening. It's a thing. Nostalgia and bringing things back. Like, there almost is, like, a bit of a reason to do it.
I mean, yeah,
the generation that was kids during that is now, like, the parents. It's like, or the overgrown kids like us. And it's kind of perfect. Timing's kind of perfect for that. I'm not saying it's a long-term solution. It's not going to last, for 10 seasons, like longer than the original run. But at least for a couple seasons, get it in there until they have time to figure out what they really want to do. You have to understand it's not going to be anything near 4K or whatever. And it's not even the original pods anymore. They changed the sim technology since then. But they could do it, I'm sure. It'd be a bit of a retrofit, but you could do it.
Sure.
If Disney could bring back Captain EO when they did a bunch of years ago, and then that they ended up keeping for way longer than they should have.
Yeah.
Like the second run was really long. I think a couple years of Questor's return could be kind of fun in Williamsburg.
Sure.
I'd like to see it. I mean, I'm sure it won't happen, but...
Probably not.
But yeah, so whatever. Battle for Ira, we missed it, but so did almost everybody else. What else was closed? Isn't there more closures? Oh, you know what happened? Caveat Lake just like burst into flames. Like it closed and then it had a fire. That is very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really a shame that place couldn't stay open. But then then like the final insult was just like, just gonna burn whatever's there to the ground. And it's like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, like apparently, I don't know that they ever determined what happened there.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I moved to the state finally. The only reason why I moved here. I wanted to finally do Conneaut Lake all season long. Or maybe that's not true, but I'm definitely closer. I definitely could have finally done it and seen what it was about, and I guess not now. Well, let's talk about what's coming soon at my now new very own Hersheypark. We got some wacky things going on.
Hit me.
They're putting in some kind of new wacky Zamperla flat ride.
Oh yeah, that does look fun.
Kind of like up and downer. It's kind of like I guess it's kind of a Ferris wheel motion, but faster.
So it's like a non-inverting air race or something.
Oh, air race. That'd have been a better ride.
It's like Ferris wheel motion, but you're also spinning around like horizontally.
Like teacup style too?
Well, the whole thing is like attached to a center piece that also spins.
It's like that. It's not, you're not, all right, you're right. The whole ride spins.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
But it's like a Ferris wheel motion on top of that horizontal spinning. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever done anything like that, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. How about these other candy-themed rides they got going on there over at the Hersheypark? What do they got?
Well, this is interesting. They decided to retheme, after all these years, the Sidewinder. It surprised me, but then at the same time, it's like, I guess I can kind of see it. I mean, it's a cool name. I'm going to miss that name.
Sidewinder?
Yeah, it's a cool name, but it is just a Vekoma Boomerang. So anything that you could do to spice it up, I guess, is not a bad thing. I mean, the ride went in back in 1991.
Woo! Wee doggy.
I was actually there for its first season.
Oh, okay.
I guess this is something they're going to do. They're going to retheme it and slap it on a new coat of paint. It's going to be brightly colored now. It's some kind of Jolly Rancher experience. What is it, Jolly Rancher remix?
Yes. And they're going to put some sort of flavor sensation tunnel in there. Like, that's different.
Well, they're putting a tunnel, which is neat. I think it's in between the loop and the Cobra Roll.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I mean, it's going to be a very short tunnel. But yeah, apparently it's not. They're not really doing it just to be a tunnel. Because it's not going to be long enough to be dark anyway. They're doing it as a way to kind of. I guess I'm assuming they're going to do like a smell thing.
Yeah, they're going to do flavor burst.
They're going to do like smell fog or whatever. Like, whatever you want to call that.
A fart?
They're going to shoot.
Smell fog? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, smell of like the 4D smells. It's, they spray smell in your face.
Yeah, okay.
Oh wow, it smells like I guess a strawberry.
Well, that's the thing.
Jolly Rancher.
They're supposed to have different ones, right? They're supposed to
I think they're supposed
randomize.
Yes, they're going on with the randomizer thing. Another one now. And this is like the weakest idea yet, or just like the most, like the least. I don't know what you want to call it. Least important or least. It's going to have the least effect on the ride.
You know what they should do? They should put in the that skunk scent just to mess with people every once in a while. Could get a bad ride. Oh,
you're thinking, like the Harry Potter jelly beans with it's good and bad flavors.
Yes.
The Russian roulette you can play of the jelly bean game. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. Like, are you going to get one of the good ones, or are you getting a pile of shit in your lap?
You're going to get dead fish or blue raspberry.
Oh, that would be something fun. Maybe for Halloween time. Like, I don't know if you want to do it all season long, but all right, it's a fun idea. I can't really shit on it. Breathe some life into this old ride, I guess. It's going to immediately become the most unique Vekoma Boomerang, and there's so many of them.
Yeah,
all still in operation. So this one though will now have its own unique elements. It's going to have smells and I believe on-ride audio.
It's going to have on-ride audio?
I believe they're doing audio. Yes, that's the other major thing, which is a first for that park. and that would be really cool.
Oh, and they're updating the trains too, apparently?
Well, I think it's only trains, and they're going to have speakers. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, that is what maybe I'm looking forward to the most. It's Hershey. I don't know what they're going to come up with as far as the audio.
Isn't it just going to be, it should be like all candy themed. It should be, you know, peppermint twist and I want candy and...
Well, yeah, I guess if they actually do license a few songs, I guess that's what it might be.
It's probably just going to be generic rock and roll.
Yeah, well, like the original California Screamin' track.
Well, yeah, well, that one also had a little, at least at times, it had a little bit of like a carnival theme. Like there was the, it did have sort of like an organ or calliope like mixed in there. Like they could do that too.
I mean, they really could almost do anything because it's, you know, Jolly Rancher doesn't have a sound. You know, or even a jingle or anything that I know of. Well, okay, there's some other elements here actually we should get to. So, all right, how about, okay, so they're doing this Jolly Rancher candy themed duo of rides, not even one but two. Now it's going to be a flat and the coaster, but it's in the Western themed area.
Oh, I was going to ask about that. So they still have themed lands, right?
They do. They never officially stopped that.
Okay.
They never were that good about, you know, theming anyway, but if anything, actually, I think it was the Pioneer Frontier Western area that was the most fleshed out. Most of the other areas are just like the name. It's like Mine Town. But what is that? Well, it's a mining village, but there's no village. And so this is kind of weird. This is their closest thing to a faithful themed area, and now they're just putting something that makes no sense in the middle of it. I mean, again, I don't think of Hershey as much of a theme park or a themed park anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter to me, but it's kind of like Six Flags doing the DC superhero ride in the middle of the boardwalk section, or
sure,
you know, whatever other section of the park that they'll just put those in. Finally, after all these years, they created just a Hershey candy products themed section called Chocolate Town, and they put the first of those rides called Candemonium, which is when you're there, you see based on the trains, it's a combo theme between Hershey Kisses, the Hershey Bar, and the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And so, if anything, though, this would have made sense in that area. Like, okay, expand that area and that put your Jolly Rancher ride. But it's odd then to just stick it in the back of the park in a different section.
Last thing I'll say on this is that flat ride has a pretty terrible name.
What is that called?
Mixed Flavored by Jolly Rancher.
And it's like apostrophe D.
It's MIX apostrophe D flavored by Jolly Rancher. It's a horrible name.
No one will remember that.
Right, no, you want a name that no one's going to remember or be able to pronounce? You did it. Good job.
I guess if it were up to me, I would have picked two different candies.
Oh, sure, that too, yeah.
Just because in the end, like, yeah, mixed, remixed, it's all the same. It's too similar, right? Because the coaster's remix, and then the ride is mixed. And if anything, you're just going to call it the Jolly Rancher ride. Which is why, yeah, the coaster should have been like the Twizzler or something.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like there was no excuse for this because it's not like they don't own these candy brand names. So it's like, why did you name these two rides after the same candy? It just doesn't make any sense. It
should have been like the Jolly Rancher, maybe for the flat, I think makes more sense, and then I think the coaster, because it you can paint the track red, and then it's like a really long Twizzler put into a funky shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a coaster track, and that's perfect. Both being Jolly Rancher is a little weird. And then, the real interesting thing is, and you said it to me first, was just that it's surprising that it took them this long to do this as a strategy. Why did it take them until the 2020s to figure out, oh wait, we should just push our products with the themes of our rides? Why not? I mean, they kind of started with the dark ride with being a Reese's ride in both its forms.
Before that, the Kissing Tower.
Oh, okay, all right. In Kissing Tower, they celebrated the Hershey Kiss, but then they didn't really do anything else for decades. They just went with the typical what every regional park was doing. We got to make a Wild West section. Yeah, everybody does that, rather than do the Chocolate Woods or something unique to them, and have a train through the Chocolate Canyon, Cocoa Canyon. Where was that back in the 70s when they put that train in?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it was just, Dry Gulch Railroad, because that's what every park does.
Well, okay, they have started to do that more. Like you said, the Reese's themed shooting gallery / dark ride thing.
Right.
But then also, when they put in their 3 S&S towers, the official name is Hershey Triple Tower, but each of the towers is named after Hershey's product.
Oh, that's right. That came, even before Candemonium. And that's the same 3 products, though.
Which
Kisses,
goes back to what you
Reese's.
said, where it's like, yeah, you gotta just come up. You have a million different candies. Just use all of them. I mean, what are you doing?
So at least in that case, Jolly Rancher is a new one. Because, so far they've been going back to the same wells. It's just been Hershey Kisses, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and Hershey Bars. And now finally they're doing something different. They're doing Jolly Ranchers. So, okay. So that's Hershey for you. That's something cool. That just is one of those things where that announcement came out of nowhere. Oh, we have to mention that. We were more right than we knew. We just did an episode about infrastructure. And then, lo and behold, multiple parks coming out with actually announcements about infrastructure improvements. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to do it. They're going to do it, and they will, I guess, talk about it to an extent. Not everything will be talked about, in a press release, but they are going to start doing these things because we're seeing it.
Which parks announced?
Oh, Great Adventure. Six Flags Great Adventure was like the most prominent one that I saw, where they actually went through a list of what they were doing. Oh, what was on the list? I mean, they actually talked about the fact that they're repaving the roadway through the safari. So that's, and that's just one example. And then there was a few other parks that I think were putting paint to some coasters, and I know Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, I think they supposedly painted Alpengeist already, and I think they're working on Griffin now. And then Busch didn't do as much of a press release, but I did see just from people taking pictures and documenting it that they're doing some repaving. They're repaving the Ponte dell'Accordo, the Bridge of Agreement between Italy and Germany, and they are redoing the surface of that this year. And they're rebuilding the dock where that boat ride emanates from, down on the river there.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things. I mean, parks do this stuff all the time, every year. There's always something that needs to be done, but they usually don't announce it. They usually don't use it as a marketing selling point to the public. But we've been seeing that more in recent years. We're gonna focus on some improvements this year or next year.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a little bit of we threw some questions out there into the universe with that discussion, and there are some of our answers. I mean, I guess they are just going to go for it.
I think it's nice to let the public know that we're keeping it up for you. We're taking care of it. I think that goes a long way with goodwill towards the public. There's really no downside to announcing that you're gonna spruce up this or that.
It's good new trend.
Yeah.
So speaking of Six Flags, another something that's kind of come out is they've been tweaking their I want to say admission I mean, not the regular admission. That's always been the biggest ripoff. Like, if you don't do anything ahead of time and you just wait and you buy your ticket at the gate, you're getting fleeced pretty much. It's been that way for forever. Yeah. That's the Six Flags model is really good deals on advance tickets, almost too good deals on season passes. And I hate to say that because it's like I want to give them more money, but at the same time it is one of those things where it's like it is kind of they're underselling themselves. Like, they're worth a little bit more than that. And that's been their structure for many, many years. But recently they've started tweaking it. I guess the first thing was this membership where it turned the season pass into, I don't know what. I mean, it essentially is just a season pass, but you make monthly payments even on the months when the park's closed, though, which is weird.
Well, it's to spread out the payments so that it's less of a burden each month.
But it was actually like a program. It was there was no it costs $150 and then we're gonna charge you this much a month until you get to that, until you've made your payment and fulfilled your obligation. It was just this ongoing thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was just like a subscription. It's just like you would just subscribe and you're just going to be charged every month just going forward. Magic Mountain during the time when the membership had already started, they went to a 12-month schedule, but that was it in the entire chain. So you're being charged for months that you couldn't even go to the park. It didn't really make any. I don't know. I never did it because it never really made any sense to me. I know that they did to sweeten the pot is that they eventually started moving some of the things that you used to get, some of the perks of a season pass, and they kind of moved them into the membership only. The membership just seemed like a way to kind of muddy the whole situation, and then it turns into, unless I make my own spreadsheet at home, at some point I'm going to lose track of how much money did I really give them, and how long have I had this, and has this even made any sense for me to have, or did I just get ripped off? And now they've announced that they're getting rid of that program, and they're just going back to all season passes.
Yeah, it was not only that, it was they also came up with these different types of memberships, these different tiers, and there were different perks with each one. You know, one was it only included the park where you bought the membership at, but then another one included the entire chain, and one with a dining plan and all this other stuff. I mean, if we're really being honest here, and why would we not be in this conversation?
Yeah.
I really want to say I think it was really just to confuse people, just so that they go for the membership and they don't realize what they bought, and then they're just paying forever. I mean, I know that's like a sinister accusation, but like, why else would you do this? I mean, you're not making it easier on people with all these choices, and then, like you're saying, paying like in perpetuity. Like, just make it simple for them. Like, why create all this confusion? So if not to screw them out of money.
You're playing the cynic here.
I am. I know that makes me sound like a total asshole.
Well, I mean, you have a point. You have a good point there. I mean, that may have came, into the thinking a little bit when they designed that. At the very least, they would have had to have realized that would have been a byproduct of what they were doing. They never did discontinue the season pass either. So the entire time that the membership existed, you had both. And then, right, they both had the multiple tiers. So it did get to be a ridiculously complicated, where you pulled the website up early in the season to renew or look at the new options. And it was just so many options. It was just like 4 different membership tiers, and then at least like 3 different season pass tiers. Maybe there was still 4 of those. It was like 7, 8, 9 different things.
It's too many.
It's just got ridiculous where you didn't know what you were doing anymore after a while.
Right.
So it was ridiculous, and I guess they're kind of admitting that, and they're reeling it back in, which is good. But at the same time, they're also now overhauling the entire season pass structure as well. But the big news here is that they're raising the price, and they're more or less going to match what Cedar Fair has been doing for a long time. Since I've been getting Cedar Fair passes, which is now closing in on 20 years, that they've always had the much higher price. But yeah, and Six Flags, I think, is finally now going to kind of join in on that.
Okay, we did an episode on this a long time ago, back in like season 1, I believe, where we did a whole spreadsheet of most of the major parks in the country and what they were charging for their season pass, and we analyzed how many visits would you need to do until you start getting a benefit from that season pass. So, when would you not only break even, but when would you actually when
you're making out on the deal.
But you're making out, right? It's like the number of visits, if you had to pay per visit, that would exceed what you actually paid for the pass. So you're getting a benefit from that pass. And far and away, Six Flags was the best deal. Except I think maybe there's like one other park where it was actually like a really good deal. But most of the parks and chains, it was something like you had to visit at least 4 to 5 times, something like that. Six Flags, it was always like you needed to only visit twice, and you were already getting a benefit.
Yeah, no one else came close, I don't think.
Right,
really,
no one else really came close.
Even like odd, smaller parks around the country, that's where that episode was really fun to do, because some of those were just so laughably bad. Where
the real small ones, some of them were, you had to visit like 7 or more times to make it worth it, and it's like, Jesus. It
was really outrageous, like parks that only have like one major coaster or whatever, and then just some flats, and then it's like, well, you'll go here about 8.5 times before you'll break even, and then go more than that to make out on the deal. And it's just like, wow, who the hell's doing that?
Yeah. So now Six Flags is you're saying they're bringing themselves up to date with everyone else, to where now you need to go more like 4 or 5 times.
Well, they finally realized, like, wait a minute, we're giving this shit away. No wonder we make no profit. No wonder we're always in bankruptcy court. Because, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, guys?
There's a reason for this. Raising the price and some other things that we'll discuss. This is all stemming from a change in management, another change in management that has happened recently. They're the ones that got rid of the membership program, and now they're raising prices. And so they're taking the approach that this is something that has been done in recent history with Six Flags. Back in the Shapiro days, which was, when was that exactly? Late 2000s, 2010 or something?
Like 8 to 12, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. So in those days, they tried the same approach. Why are we charging so little money for admission? Let's raise the prices. And they did that. And they tried it for a little while. And
I forgot about that. Yeah, I actually forgot. That was so brief. But yeah.
Because, that regime only lasted a few years. So they've done this before. Who knows if it'll stick? History has said that it won't.
That's right. And it failed. People kind of revolted. Like, the attendance went down because people were like, well, if I have to pay this much, then forget it.
Well, that's the thing.
That's what kind of happened. Like, it turns out that people don't value Six Flags very much. And as soon as it was a little more expensive to go, they just didn't go.
That's the thing. They didn't understand their audience. And I think they're making the same mistake, this new management. Where they're saying, we're going to raise prices. What we're going to do is we're going to trade off some of the attendance, and we're going to charge more, though, per person. And we'll make up the cost that way. And at the same time, we'll eliminate some of the rowdier crowds, and it'll be a nicer, more family-friendly place to go. But the Six Flags parks are just not that. I'm not saying they're not family-friendly.
Man.
But they are more for teenagers and thrill riders, thrill seekers, and those are the people that bring in the money. Those are the people that come in and they play the lane games and they buy all the food and all the souvenirs and all that other shit. And if you cut them out, you're going to see not only dip in attendance, but you're going to see a major dip in revenue. I think they're making the same mistake.
Oh, man. You really think they're stuck?
At least for 30 or more years or something. They're thrill seeker parks for teenagers where they just put nothing in. They put basically nothing but like coasters and, high thrill flats in. They don't have this expanded offering of entertainment, and they even tried it in the Shapiro years where they tried parades and they tried other live entertainment, and it just didn't work.
Parades.
It's just not what that brand is associated with. It's not what the people think of. They don't think of it on the same level as Disney or even or Universal or Busch or Hershey. It's just not in the public mindset. It's really hard to change that, and those parks haven't changed either. So if you're going to try and sell the public on, well, we're grown up now, we're a little more family friendly, the public's not there.
Our parks are all approaching 50. We're finally 50. We've finally grown up. It's like there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. Well, okay. Before you begin, I'll throw out one other thing too that I know that they've made a specific mention of. They did, however, say, we realize our food is shit, and we're going to update that. Now, that is something you can actually change pretty quickly, even like within, the season. I understand you do sign food contracts and all this stuff, but you can pivot if you need to.
At least between seasons, definitely. It's easy. Yeah.
So that is an area where they can improve fairly easily. But the rest of the park, that's really hard.
Okay, the first thing, though, you threw Hershey in there with, like, Busch, and that is actually a really good example of the concept of there just being a way the public perceives a place, regardless of whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
Because really, there is very little difference between the overall strategy of Hersheypark and, I'm not going to say Six Flags, but Cedar Fair. And their rides are really extreme, and the place isn't really any better suited for families than your average Cedar Fair park.
That's right.
And even in some cases, some of the Six Flags parks, if you got into the actual ride lineups. Yet it is perceived and attended by so many families every year. And so, I mean, besides having like the costume characters based on candy bars that I guess is kind of kid friendly, but Cedar Fair parks will have Snoopy and Peanuts characters, and those lands based on those characters. And Six Flags has the Looney Tunes characters and lands at every one of the parks. So, and then even, even the DC superheroes, I mean, they appeal, I guess, to everybody these days, but,
Right.
There's a kid component to that as well. So, or a family component where the whole family can enjoy it. But yet, yeah, it's just funny. There is something that just gets ingrained in there, and then you just can't change it, for better or for worse. Like, in the case of Hershey, they're happy to have the image they have, but when you really break it down, like, what does this park offer, or what are the rides really like, they're actually not. I'm not saying they're not family friendly. They have a ton of kids rides, but in the overall scheme of things, the coasters aren't any less extreme than your average Cedar Fair or Six Flags park at all.
No.
And it's still just bare bones coasters for the most part.
Right.
As well. But yet it gets this family audience and it has this family image. But I don't know that it's fully deserved to the level that it has it, which is interesting. And then I guess we could go the other way where, at least with Six Flags, some of the parks have more family stuff, I think, than they get credit for. So you're kind of looking at this, you're playing the cynic again, actually, where you're just kind of like, this will never work. You really feel like it's just they're stuck. Like, this is their audience, this is their crowd, and it skews young, it skews teenagers a lot. They have limited disposable income at that age, and so therefore, if they can't afford it, they just won't go. But as long as they can afford it, they'll go, and then they spend money on the games and the high priced food and shit. So that's where you get them. And I don't know. I mean, so far that has been true. So I guess current management is looking at an uphill battle, if anything. Yeah. I'll give it that. They're going to try to change the culture a bit again, or just kind of maybe even just sort of change the class of clientele. It's its own monster. It's got its own culture, its own personality, and Six Flags takes over the managers. The managers don't take over Six Flags.
Right.
And that's just how it's always been. And now, and the company now, and we're going into, at least in its current form, has been since the late 90s. That last major move was the Premier thing. But even throughout that entire period, like, no one's been able to buck the trend. New managers have tried.
I'm not being a cynic just for that, for no reason.
No, you had backup. You brought points out.
I see history repeating itself. It's not like they haven't tried this before.
You can't go a day at that park or any of those Six Flags parks without hearing profanity and things on just waiting online amongst the people that are around you and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be things like just simple things like that. Like, if you don't want your kids that are only 4 or 5 years old to be hearing certain language, well, that's probably not going to happen in a day at Six Flags. Yeah. And then it goes from there with just some of the things you might end up being forced to witness. People getting into fights over who's smoking online or things of that nature. Like, it's just that constantly happen in those parks.
But the parks were not really run the greatest. They always had an attitude of laziness to them or neglect, and it's just been that way for a long time now.
Families want to go to these regionals. They do now. They do.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I can't buy that in the 80s they went through a period when families didn't want to do it. It's just the direction the parks went in, and it's stuck. And it's like, now they're just stuck. They can't get out of it. And they've tried a couple of times over the years, and they can't. It's like they've screwed themselves.
There's just an attitude at Six Flags among just the way it's run of, like I said, kind of neglect. We don't really give a shit necessarily. And that's really a shame. There doesn't seem to be, as much of a pride in, wanting to take care of their parks and maintain them and keep them beautiful and clean and all this other stuff. You don't see that pride as much in Six Flags, I feel like, as with other parks and chains.
Yeah, you're right. I'll acknowledge the fact that there is this sort of weird element of just, like, Six Flags, like you were just saying, doesn't take enough pride in their own product themselves, and how that sort of manifests itself. Like, then the clientele comes in, and then they don't respect it, but maybe because of the way it's being presented or ran in a way. Just because my thought is, not everyone who's under a certain age or within a certain age bracket is just inherently bad or looking to cause trouble. That's not true at all. And a lot of these same people who maybe, in a teenage age range, it's not like they're not going at times to Disney or Universal
Right.
These same people literally the same individuals in a lot of cases are probably going to both at different time. Maybe not like us, where they're enthusiasts and they go a lot of places every year, but over time, 1 year they go here, 1 year they go there, whatever. And they're not acting up the same way, or just acting the same way when they go to Disney or even Universal, which is a little more edgy, but outside of Halloween Horror Nights, it's really not that, nowhere near a Six Flags type of day, with the crowd. The people even the same individuals just feel differently when they go into a Six Flags park versus going into, what we would define or qualify as a higher level park.
That's right.
Why do people let loose maybe in a more sophomoric fashion in like a Six Flags environment than in other park environments? Why do you treat your day at Disney more seriously in a I want to behave here kind of thing? Like what's that about? Yeah. And I don't really have the answer. It is interesting.
Well, yeah, I feel like the park sets the example.
Well, yeah, that's the best I can come up with. It's just that it's something to do with the way the park is presented to you. Like it's presented to you in a certain way, and then you react to that accordingly. All right, so I guess we are getting to a little bit more of an understanding maybe about why they are stuck in this groove, Six Flags. Yeah. Because it does kind of seem like something has to change at some other level. I don't know that just the idea of we're going to price the teenagers out is a valid enough, because they've tried that before, and it just hurts them in the end financially. So there's got to be a better way. Like, I think it would start with maybe training, Disney and Universal, where it's a better style of training, where they're just trained, or maybe there's just more managers walking around that keep up on the people more, whatever it is. They figured it out, like how to keep the staff engaged and motivated, and it's like they want to be better there, so then they are. And then the people get the crowd gets a better experience, and then I guess that leads them to respect the place more. It all kind of just builds on itself.
Yes, it is all about respect, yeah. Or not all about respect, but respect is a big factor here. Six Flags is a really fun place. You can have a great time there, and I always enjoy myself when I go. But there
as long as it's not Fright Fest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like there are times when it's not the most pleasant experience, and I hope this time it changes for good. It is an uphill battle, but it's not something that's impossible. They can definitely improve themselves and get better public perception, which would change the attitude of the people that actually visit. I hope it happens this time.
And so do you think that there's any connection between how much you pay to get into a place and how much respect you have for it?
No, I think that's an illusion. You could raise the ticket to Disney level. You could charge $150, $175 a day. I don't think that's all of a sudden you're not all of a sudden going to get rise to Disney level respect or something. Like, that's not going to happen. Price is a tricky thing.
No, you're not going to get a Disney clientele all of a sudden just because you raise the ticket price.
If that was the only thing, if it was just ticket price, well, then you could solve it tomorrow. But it's like, that's not what it is. It's a much more complex problem.
No, I know that. I mean, we're covering all the sides here as best we can. It's a lot. Yeah, okay. I mean, I was just thinking in terms of if you raise things up a bit.
Maybe.
Again, we're dealing with everything else we've already kind of established, which, if you don't change those things, then it doesn't really matter. Then all it becomes is what happened around 12 or so years ago, where it's just you raise the prices and then people just say, well, that's not worth that.
Right.
Our best recommendation, I think, really comes down to, they may have to raise prices anyway right now because you're dealing with, hourly wages are starting to go through the roof of what you got to charge, pay to get decent staff and whatnot. And so... Well,
everything's up. Inflation is high right now. So
and then there's inflation right now. So, yeah, it's going to have to be... That has to come into play to a certain extent. So yeah. You would expect there to be some price increases just anyway. But I think that as the eureka moment of, we'll just do that, and they're not just doing that. Okay, they're doing the food too. So, okay, we'll do that and we'll do food, and then that'll fix everything. I still think, and they could be doing other things too that you wouldn't advertise. If they are going to change their training protocol, I'm sure they're not going to advertise that. That's just something that they would just do behind the scenes. And I hope that they are. or they'll listen to this, which they won't, but because that's our recommendation. Like, I think there's a lot to do with that. I think that could go a long way, and it's going to take time. It'll take a few seasons. It's not going to be an overnight kind of thing either, and no one can expect that.
Right. Expectations need to be managed. Yeah,
it's more of just changing your perception. You want to get more. You do want to get more families in. You want to get more people that aren't going in.
Yes.
To shift the balance, and there's got to be a way to do that. I mean, of course, there's always going to be some bad apples. That's just life. That's the world, and nothing is ever going to be 100% one way or the other. So, but that's Disney too. People get into fights in Disney too. It happens, just not to the level that it happens at Six Flags. So, to get to a better level, it's like there's some things I think that they could do to change the overall makeup of any one day in the park, of being a little more balanced with more families in there, more older folks. And then even when the younger crowd comes in, to somehow get it into their heads that this is a place where the ownership and the management takes pride in it and is doing things for you. And so that will get into your head as the guest that, all right, I should have respect and I should take some pride into this day of fun that I'm embarking on. All right. Well, where does that bring us to?
All right.
The Star Wars Hotel.
Star Wars Hotel. So
that's what this is about.
We didn't do it. I mean,
of course not.
Yeah, that's no surprise. But it just opened recently, and the reason why I want to bring it up is nothing quite like this has been done before, at least within like the theme park world. Outside of it, I don't know, maybe it has.
Oh, sure. We talked about that when we first brought this up a couple years ago. LARPing, the concept of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I watched 2 reviews on YouTube, and then I looked up and read another 3 or 4 reviews. I wanted to get a consensus.
You did more than me. So you actually did reviews. I would just before you get into it, I did something that I normally don't do, and I allowed myself to watch a walkthrough of at least one of the rooms. And I guess some of the public area too, but it was mostly focused on one of the guest rooms. I think a mid-range one. And I normally don't do that, but in this case, I know pretty much without a shadow of a doubt that I'm not ever going to do this. So I wasn't afraid to just get it spoiled.
And I'm the same way. I'm never going to do it. And yeah, and these reviews that I saw did include footage of the rooms and every area of the hotel. Because I was curious to know what people were saying. I wanted to know how this is playing.
We're not going through the details, right? It's just the overall impressions.
Exactly, yeah.
And I guess the background is, before the thing even opened, even some what I would consider to be hardcore Disney fans were kind of a little taken aback by the price and what it included and what it didn't include. There was a little bit of a backlash before it even opened, just based on what the final menu was, essentially, with the prices. It's very expensive. I think it starts at something like $6,000.
Something like that,
and then up from there.
And that's for 2 days. That's for like 48 hours in this.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing. It's not even a very long experience. Yeah, you're not getting a week of long vacation out of this. You're getting 2 days.
Yeah, it's very limited. They only have, I believe it's something like 100 rooms.
But all right. So anyway, all right. Where are you getting this stuff from? I guess first of all.
Okay, actually, that's a good point to bring up. All of the sources except for one were either Disney or theme park people. I did make a point to seek out one that was non-theme park. I don't remember who it was now, because I wanted to get an outside theme park opinion on this. And really, all of the reviews they're very similar. So opinions seem to be consistent. And that is, so the bottom line to this whole thing is people actually really love it. However, the giant caveat to that, though, is people are saying, yeah, the experience was really awesome, but it's not worth the price. So if it were cheaper, they could understand it way more and would maybe do it more times in their life, or even in the course of one season, perhaps 1 year.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, okay.
What they are offering, people are really liking. It's just the price tag no one can justify. So that's very interesting to me. So people are loving the interactions, they love the storyline, and they love the activities that they're given. And this is all designed for huge Star Wars nerds. People that are just really into the entire series, not just those, first 3 films, but the entire thing, the lore, and you go beyond it with the books and all this other stuff. Disney did create something that people are responding to very positively.
Is this even better of an offering than the land itself, the Galaxy's Edge?
So, okay, that leads me into my next section here. Again, the overall consensus that I was getting here is there are 3 areas that seem to be lacking, though. One of them is the food. People think that the food is not quite up to par, especially for what they're paying. That could be better. And that's actually a fairly easy fix. I mean, we kind of mentioned this with Six Flags, where it's like you can change that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and especially Disney.
Yeah. Another area that people weren't so thrilled with was the approach, the actual entry point to this whole experience, which you just come in on the backside of, I almost said MGM Studios, Disney Hollywood Studios.
Whoa. Or now you're dating yourself.
Now I'm dating myself, yeah.
Now you did it. You wanted to do it, you did it. Okay.
So you just see, backside of water. You see, the Galaxy's Edge, fake rock work, steel structure, that they didn't theme or do anything with because it's the backside. You're not supposed to see that. So it's that, and then it's the cast member parking lot, which I think doubles as this Galaxy's Edge parking lot, which, I mean, it is valet parking, I believe, so you don't actually have to park it yourself. You park your own car yourself. But just that approach is unsightly, where you're seeing just warehouses and the backside of unfinished rock work, and it's just a couple of shipping containers that say, Starcruiser or Halcyon, whatever the hell the name of the thing is, and an arrow. It seems really cheap and kind of, not the nicest thing. Like, you're paying all this money, and you'd expect and this is supposed to be, a 100% immersive experience. And to get you started on that journey you're not starting quite on the right foot.
I have to admit, this would be one of the hardest things to try to figure out, I think, is how to get you there. It's one thing to have, once you're there, to create an immersive environment. That is easier. But, yeah, getting people in there to start, that's a rough one. Because it's almost like, to make it absolute, they really would have had to have built what would have amounted to a small airport. That would have been like the spaceport, let's say. But I guess they weren't either willing to do that or couldn't figure it out or what. And then again, it's going to come up with so many times, but it's like, when you consider what they're charging, though, it's like, well, then shouldn't they have had the money for this? I mean, look what they did with the approach to Magic Kingdom.
Well, that's insane. That's totally ridiculous.
Worked or didn't work, depending on how you want to look at it. But within that very same resort, they have something that's on another scale, and it doesn't cost. It's still a very expensive park to get into, the most expensive, I believe, in the world, but nowhere near what it costs to do the Star Wars experience. So then, yeah, you have that to live up to, if anything, because that's in the same resort. Something like that, then, even if it was just a monorail. Basically like a ripoff of the Potter train, something like that. But something like that. So actually, now that I think about it, if Universal could do it just for Potter, and I say just for Potter, but I mean, again, in addition to the already existing theme park, this to be a whole separate premium, only for the super rich experience. Yeah, they really should have done that. So I can imagine that, how people are going to rate that low. If you're telling me it's just the employee lot.
I say the approach is not as nice as it should be, probably. But once you actually get inside the building, then apparently it is great. Where you actually go through some sort of simulated shot into space. So that part apparently is fine and great. Okay, so anyway, so the third thing that is underwhelming are
the hookers. How are the prostitutes? Every hotel has got to have a hookup for you at the front desk. You got to know the code word, the way to ask for it. And I heard that the Hookers are just not living up to the expectations at this one.
The escort service is not
the escort
notch.
service, you're not getting the 6-nippled aliens with the giant horns on their heads that become like hair. You're just not getting it as much as you want. It's a little too ordinary. So yes, I heard the escort situation is really lacking right now. I know Disney's trying to work that out. They're trying to get some better escorts in.
The hookers and blow aren't up to snuff.
Oh, and that's been a big issue too.
People aren't getting high, and they're not getting off.
They're not. No. And for the price you're paying, I want primo. I want uncut premium shit for that price. For up to $20,000 is what I just see now. I said I gave them a 6 to 10. I guess it can go up to $20K, depending on what you want out of this thing. I mean, fuck that. $20,000. I want the most premium blow I've ever had.
Right.
And if it's anything less than that, no. It's like, this better, if it's cut with anything, it better be like Walt Disney's ashes. And I'm blowing that shit up my ass. But other than that, no, you're not cutting it. Because I'm giving you a fortune for this. So I need the most out of it that I could possibly get. This is making me sick to see this. But anyway, all right.
Okay, so the third thing...
What's the third thing that people are upset about?
The third thing that people find underwhelming is Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
I'm serious.
That makes me laugh. No, I
This
can
is a
believe
complaint that people are having, that the drop-off in quality from the Star Wars Hotel to Galaxy's Edge, the actual theme park land that they built, is extremely noticeable, apparently.
So even if it's some of the same people that maybe kind of liked Galaxy's Edge, or they ended up being kind of apologists, they kind of just made the excuses for the park, and well, you can't expect all that to be everything that they said, but now in comparison to this other thing, they're like, oh wait, this does suck.
Kind of.
So it's like, oh wow, so even people that liked it, like we chatted on it from day one, and we only spent one day there ever, and a shortened day by the way.
That's
We
right.
paid more money to get out of there.
That's
to go to
right.
a different park. That's how excited we were.
How much can I pay to leave Galaxy's Edge? Is basically
That's literally what
said.
happened. That's literally what happened. That's not a joke.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So even people who maybe were kind of into it, or kind of tricking themselves to be into it, with this they kind of realized, whoa, wait, no, they did fail on this. This land failed. It failed us.
Yeah, well, it apparently really pointed out the shortcomings of that land, because apparently the hotel is really great. The actual immersion, like I said, the interactions, the storyline, and all that and all the stuff they have you do. I mean, of course, you can do as much as you want or as little as you want in terms of the activities. It's up to you. You're not forced to do anything. But compared to the actual theme park land, apparently it's just way better. It's like what it's what everyone expected the land to be.
So you mean it's not just two stormtroopers wandering around?
No, apparently they have a lot of interactive characters. You can talk to a lot of people, and they know everything. They are completely immersed in their character, and they're very knowledgeable about the universe. And if you're really into all that stuff, it's great. You'll have a wonderful time. So That's the bulk of what I had to say. I just think it's very interesting that Disney really does kind of had a hit on their hands, except it's being hampered by the price tag. That the vast majority of people can't even remotely afford to do this.
So they didn't not deliver on the experience.
They actually did deliver. That's right. So with the price, and they're not going to lower it. They never will. Don't ever expect them at some point in the future, oh, business is hurting, we got to lower this. It'll never happen. But they're going to burn through the people that can afford it at some point, and the people that are willing to repeat it, they're going to burn through those people.
That's even a smaller subset of the people who are doing it to start, and then people who actually could afford it a second time.
Yeah.
Now you're getting even to a smaller group of people, and you're going to burn through them, right?
So now I think, time will tell, Disney will run into a problem. They're going to burn through all those people fairly quickly. I don't think there's that many people that are willing to pay for this or that are repeat customers and willing to pay for this.
I do have a little news here. I have an article up this is from a week ago. And the headline is, Disney's Galactic struggle to fill Star Wars hotel. Disney's overpriced Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser hotel, which only has 100 rooms, which we've mentioned, is nowhere near selling out, according to the availability calendar on its website. And essentially, it's going to go on about how it's expensive, and this is only a few months in, they're already having trouble filling it. So it's already out there.
You have two choices then. Disney has two choices here. When you get to this point, I'm not saying they're necessarily at this point already. I mean, it's possible they could be. That's like way faster than I thought they would reach it.
This article is making it sound like they already kind of are, but again,
I don't think so.
It's not saying it's empty. It's just saying it says nowhere near selling out. So that could be they still are filling 75 of the 100 rooms every night or something. So yeah, this isn't saying that, with inside knowledge that, the place is only filling 10 rooms a night. It's not saying that. And we're not saying that.
No.
And I would think it would take a couple years, but yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
You got two ways to go. Either Disney widens the net, they bring in more people that they are currently excluding, or you shut it down because you can't afford to run this place anymore. I could definitely see them shutting it down. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna lower the price. I really can't see that. They wouldn't stoop themselves to that level. I think they would shut it down before they lower the price. I am curious to see if they build a budget version of this concept. They have hotels that are different price ranges. Do they do the same thing with this? Will it be Star Wars themed? Will it be something else themed? Will it be Marvel themed or something else? I'm curious about that. This is all speculative.
Well, my thought has been that this does have a limited shelf life because of everything we've covered. And this goes without having seen what the actual infrastructure, there's that word again, infrastructure of the situation is. I don't know what the actual hotel or the Starcruiser is. Is it like a warehouse on the outside or unthemed on the outside and you never go to see the outside?
Yes. You never see the outside, so it doesn't matter.
It's like a ride. Okay, yeah. I thought it might be. So that's a little rough then. I don't know how you get around that. But what I was thinking was, it's this experience for now, and then it probably will just eventually become a regular hotel. No more actors, but there's a major logistical problem with that, which is it's not necessarily built like a regular hotel. There's no outside of it. There's no way to pull up, and there's no like traditional lobby. And I don't even do you know where it is on the resort? Is it all just still backstage of?
Yeah, it's behind Galaxy's Edge.
It's also not necessarily in a regular guest area. So then in that case, I guess my idea wouldn't work. It really couldn't become that. It's kind of stuck being what it is.
No, you'd have to add on hundreds of rooms, though, to make it even viable.
And it's too tiny.
100 rooms.
It's too small for what they normally would have at that resort.
Yeah.
So
it'd be easier to just abandon it.
Right. So then in that case, then, yeah, the idea of it only lasting a limited time, I think, is more believable as to what the result of this might be. I think they might know that then. Like, they might be going into this with that in mind, which is kind of crazy and kind of sick. And
that's interesting.
One thing I thought of too, as far as even for the people who can afford it and are willing to, do they have to eventually do a 2.0 like they did Star Tours? Because you want people to come back, but then it's like you have to create new characters and new stories, theoretically.
No, that is actually something that is expected. That, after a couple of years, they need to refresh the storyline because otherwise, you can't have the same storyline over and over again.
Or expected, but has that ever been said by Disney?
Oh, I don't think so. But I don't know. Nothing that I've read by Disney, they have to know. They have to have that in mind, though. That it can't just be the same storyline.
You think that, but it was the same Star Tours for 30 years before they finally changed it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, this is more flexible than that, though. You're not changing out a film. You're just you can change the storyline every day if you wanted to, but...
I mean, right, you could just give your staff new scripts, new marching orders,
so this
whatever,
is, easier to change.
Wow. This is just so unprecedented. It's just...
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is fascinating.
This is really an experiment.
Yeah.
Or what if the grand scheme ends up becoming a 5-year cycle of, all right, so we get 5 years Star Wars, and then you brought up Marvel. Using the same space, they just transform it and then they do a whole overlay. And now it's the Marvel experience.
I guess that would be cheaper than building a whole new building and all that shit, but...
And then they do 5 years of that, and then all the same people come back and do it. plus a few others, people who are new money that got rich in the interim. I don't know if you could just create enough new interactions within the same thing to make it lucrative enough for people, even if they could afford it, to keep doing it over and over again.
I don't know. But the problem with that is you don't have a theme park land to tie to Marvel, though. Part of the reason they built it specifically right next to Galaxy's Edge is because it ties into that, and you don't have that with Marvel. It's like that's a real harder sell. Then you have to drop the price, because part of the price includes admission to Hollywood Studios. I mean, you can venture off once you get into Galaxy's Edge. You can venture off into the rest of the park if you choose to, and really break the illusion of what you're doing there. For those 48 hours. But I don't know how much people are doing that. All right. Well, all right.
We did it.
That's it.
We're not doing the Starcruiser. We're not talking about it ever again, apparently.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it. Unless it shuts down or modifies. Yeah, like you said.
He's cutting me off. This is just like something went off.
It's interesting, but it can fuck with your head, yeah.
Disney is out of this world. They really are out of this world.
Yeah. Thanks for writing.